All right, welcome back to Game 10 of Lucid's 2022 tournament, where we are playing Phlegra. It is turn 76. Could have some pivotal battles this turn, though I do suspect that Utgart's going to be pulling off. Yeah, we have our Cloud Trapeze attacks. I think it's actually just one attack, so that'll probably be this. And I'm expecting this to probably go well. We're going to be summoning... Yeah, actually, the investment isn't even that high, though there is a communion here, probably a Skelly spam communion. Yeah, no gems on this Communion Master, 2 Communion Slaves. This is the absolute minimum that you need to be spamming skeletons with those types of mages. And we're going to be summoning out air elementals. You know, we're spending a lot of gems here. Of course, there is a lot of danger. That's part of why we invested so heavily, because, you know, we have no chaff. And sadly, the air... Okay, no, one air elemental did jump on the heavy cav. That was really important. The other air elementals happily jumped on the communion, so this is going to work out for us pretty well, though we are spending like a ton of gems here. And, you know, this, when I originally set this up, this was to cut a retreat route of like one of Utgart's main armies, so I felt like the gem expenditure was worth it. Now that that army is probably going to directly retreat into these sorceresses and wipe them out, like this is kind of a waste of gems, even having killed those 3 mages. Yeah, so it looks like Utgart, you know, and I mean, that makes sense, right? Like I indicated that like, we're probably still going to keep fighting. So we're going to be facing, these are a bunch of lesser horror attacks. We have some province defense investment. Yeah, unfortunately, like, yeah, they went for the commander. I wonder... Yeah, we might be actually extra susceptible. I didn't really like think about lesser horror attacks, like not spreading any mages out or anything like that. Let's see, these guys have magic resistance 9. Yeah, we also have magic resistance 9, so I guess it must just be that, yeah, our commander has more hit points. That's why they like focused in on him, so that's kind of unfortunate. Of course, not all the horrors, the lesser horrors are... oh, wait a minute. Oh, I guess this is just a different marsh? Yeah, nope. Yes, it was a different marsh, and it just happened to be the same type of horror both times. So we lose both times. So, like, yeah, we're particularly susceptible to that type of horror. And horrors in general usually can beat province defense, but not always, right? Like, this is looking like it could work for us, although they do have fear. Yeah, you know, the fact that, like, our commanders have such low morale is a big problem. Like, yeah, it does kind of look like we're going to be a little more susceptible to these types of attacks. So that's unfortunate, right? Because we lose a bunch of territory there for pretty cheap. So we can definitely deal with this. Raiding it back is going to be pretty easy. And if we spread some mages out, we should be able to figure out, like, honestly, even just like Frozen Heart, or Incinerate, like things like that, you know, should be able to... Well, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be a challenge, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that we were fighting Atlantis rather than Utgard. So yeah, let's see. This is the ongoing war between Myrignon and Ulm. It looks like a fairly significant raiding force from Myrignon and a few raiders from Ulm. Like, yeah, demons on both sides. That's just kind of how the late game goes, but this is definitely going to go in Marignon's favor. Though I don't think Ulm loses too much there. Well, actually, no, this looks like a full cast of, I think it's like Horde of Imps, something like that. And that's definitely not free, so, you know, not the end of the world for Ulm, but not a good trade to be making for free. And then let's see, this is a standard attack, just a raid, probably swarm. Yeah, swarm raiding. We have some province defense here, including heavy cav, though, yeah, probably going to be enough to overwhelm it. You know, so yeah, Utgart doing good stuff. Of course, like, you know, this is the danger of balling up and, like, not spreading out, you know, and, like, certainly some of this is just not investing enough time, right? Because probably could have found some mages that weren't, like, critical to the battles, right, and moved out and supported some of our province defense, right? Because now Utgart's going to be, they can much more easily dump province defense in than we can. So in some ways, especially considering our money situation, like, these are kind of irreplaceable losses, and now we're going to have to fight through, you know, their province defense dumps. But, you know, I was never like, this war is not going to go well for us in case there's, you know, any confusion, which is probably, like, where Utgart's offer came from, but, you know, it's all about how you make the offer. And then Ulm manages to take this province just mostly with wolves. This looks like a province that probably got hit by a horror attack. It's pretty common to take the province with a scout, right? Because the horrors actually leave it not even independent. I mean, I guess you'd call it independent. It's, you know, undefended and in no one's hands. So a scout can take it, but obviously if the scout runs into an actual force, that scout is not going to carry the day. So, and then of course, Mictlan is not out. Yeah, this just looks like a ping, perhaps, probably, yeah, I imagine this is on Mictlan proper, and right, Mictlan definitely still has something to say in this game. They have a lot of forces left, definitely. Well, I mean, they have a large stack at least one. Yeah, and in fact, this actually isn't even in Mictlan, so they might have 2 large stacks. Our scout network is not in a great place, partially because we're pretty broke and just things haven't been going great. This is where we're pinging, just kind of trying to get an idea of like what the PD investment level is. Is there any patrolling? There's no patrolling here, and some province defense investment, but not as high as we've seen. That was on top of a fort. And then let's see, I think this is also a ping. Yeah, this is not on top of a fort. So probably about 6, maybe 10. And then this is on top of one of our thrones, and Utgard did choose to hang out. Okay, so this is somewhat interesting. We're just going to let this run, because to be honest, I don't even remember exactly what I scripted here. So let's see, Divine Blessing does go off, but as we can see, right, is missing the regeneration, or no, I think it was Fortitude. I can't even remember what Utgard's Bless is, but it was definitely a heck of a lot scarier than this, right? So this is basically as good as this battle's ever going to get for us. And pretty good chance that it's not going to work out great. We did manage to get mass flight off, although it's kind of looking like we do have like a good amount of damage already. Yeah, I'll have to take another look. The idea was to try to get mass flight off, but we were doing turn 1 Earthquake. Mass flight does have a slightly faster casting time, but there's definitely some jitter built in. So not sure if that's just damage we took. Obviously, Utgard's doing things against us. And then, Pillar of Fire. That's mostly what we're relying on. Oh, you know what? That's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, the fear from the wolves I knew was going to be a big problem, and there's really not a whole lot we can do about that. I didn't think about the fact that the crossbowmen can fly off, right, for their retreat. Okay, yeah, then we put up Firestorm. So, this could actually go pretty well for us. The Skelly spam, we're not really going to be too bothered about. Basically, everything that's not a Tyrant is dead, but, that was always going to be the case, right? There's no surprise there. This was always going to be a super nasty battle for us. So, yeah, I think this is about as good of a result as can be expected. There's some retreats on Utgard's side. I actually think there's a pretty good chance that, we technically, quote-unquote, win this. In the sense that, we end, well, maybe not. Yeah, you can see, right, the Tyrant's, really not able to stand up. Well, they're pretty killy, though. Vine Shield maybe should have invested more in Vine Shields, right? Because we can see that there's a guy wrapped up there. I'm kind of surprised that he's not able to break out. Okay, yeah, see, this guy's been weakened, although still, Strength 21. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't us that put up Foul Vapors, but I'm not 100% on that. But it's definitely affecting Utgard. I don't know if they were planning on having mass regeneration. Super shocked that they chose to hang out. Because like I said, I mean, this is as good as it's going to get for us. This battle would have gone much worse, I think, had their Bless been up. Still, I mean, this is a catastrophic result for us, and Utgard can rebuild much more effectively than we can, right? If we're just looking at it from a 1v1 standpoint, but I mean, we're never gonna beat Utgard, right? This fight is really more about ensuring that Utgard isn't the person that wins this game, and I think it's way too early to make it, a call about whether or not, how that's going to go, but this is definitely not going to help them win the game. These are some pretty significant losses that they're taking, and then, we basically have no defense anymore for this southern throne. We have, 2 Tyrants. I think our god might have flown off. Gorgeous George is pretty good at retreating. Oh, wow. And then, Utgard chose to assault. Yes, they're just going all in, full disrespect. And, right, the result is super nasty for both of us. I mean, there's really no other way around it. It costs 10 nature gems to bring in 5 of these wolves. They lose 64 of them. These are cap-only sacreds. They're not cheap sacreds either from a gold standpoint. They lose 25 total mages, 3 of which are cap-only, a throne mage, Scrotty, not cheap. Actually, maybe 26. I didn't count this other guy that didn't switch forms. So yeah, this is a major loss for Utgard. On our side, obviously, also catastrophic. We lose, 6 throne mages, 2 more mages here. These guys at least aren't super expensive, but they are slow to recruit. We lose 14 of our oppressors. I'm not actually sure if the communion burned out, right? Did they burn out or did they burn up? Regardless, they're definitely dead. Sorceresses, also slow to recruit, dead. Oppressor Archons, those are cap only, slow to recruit, dead. 2 of the Tyrants, in case I didn't mention. We also didn't pick up any of our gear, which actually, I guess, makes sense because probably most of what's still alive, has full equipment slots, so they can't pick it up. At least troop-wise, we didn't really bring all that much. So, I mean, we lost everything that we brought, but most of it was kind of garbage anyway. So that goes in the good column, and then Gorgeous George does indeed manage to escape. Do they survive the retreat? Yeah, more or less everything retreats successfully. That's actually pretty important. I didn't realize 2 of our Tyrants retreated, so they didn't die in the retreat. So yeah, super catastrophic battle for both sides, but I'm perfectly content with it. So let's see if, we can pull off a similar sort of situation. Like I said, we had fewer gems here, but the army is stronger. So, hard to say. Wow, those wolves are so fast. So that's kind of unfortunate that they managed to breach the gap. But, we have plenty of bugs. I think actually Wailing Winds is going to be a lot less important in this. And I don't think... Oh, we do have Firestorm in this. Fantastic. All right. Oh, yeah, that's right. We have a bunch of meteors here. Of course, the meteors are actually in some ways less effective because there's no blood bond. I mean, there's a lot of these guys back here. Are these guys bodyguards? No. Yeah, he went with the long line. I don't understand why people assault with the long line. I mean, it might just be, laziness, right? Which, I totally understand. I've definitely assaulted forts with an army that was built for field battles, and I didn't really adjust it. But it's man, I usually at least switch my guys into square so they can get through the gap more easily. I hate the long line getting stuck on the walls, but I mean, it doesn't, especially with giants. It's so hard for them to get through the gap. Realistically, it probably doesn't matter. And in fact, you know what? In fairness, the long line probably is helpful in terms of spreading them out so that they don't take as much damage from evocations. So I take that back. The long line probably was the right call in this particular case. Though it is not really helping Utgard. And in this case, this battle's looking like it's going pretty gosh darn good for us. So yeah, pretty happy with these results. We're not going to win this game. we're a long way from winning this game. But frankly, Utgard, and this could just be me, it's very difficult to get tone, through text messaging, right, which is Discord. It's all textual. But not a lot of respect vibes coming across. At least, that was my read. And I feel like these battles also support that theory, because if you have a heavily incarnate bless and you're risking, probably 120 sacreds, if you respect the player, you pull off the forts, right? You wait until you get your pretender back. If you don't respect the player, well, then you do this. And sometimes you miscalculate. I think that's what happened here. So happy to be proving Utgard wrong. This time we do find some gear, and while it is not without loss for us, right, we burn out a pretty significant communion. I think we may not have any shackled mages left whatsoever anywhere. So the good news is that they're pretty cheap. Actually, more expensive than I realized. 70 gold for these guys. Anyway, yeah, but still on the balance, they're the cheapest mage we can get. Which is good because we don't have a lot of money. So we'll probably just spend what remaining money we have on a bunch of shackled mages because we should, I think, we do still have some oppressors. We do lose 2 oppressors. That is relevant. Again, we're not so much with the having of the money. So recruiting any mages whatsoever is a bit of a challenge. The Cyclops Smiths, very expensive and also cap only. So, some relevant losses definitely. Chaff-wise, we lose almost nothing. But what we get out of this... it's pretty gosh darn significant. So I severely underestimated the number of sacreds that they were committing. We killed 130 Garms here. And then again, these guys, 10 nature gems for 5 of them. I do think Utgard still has Mother Oak, right? So that does dilute, the value of these. but this is still relatively slow and expensive to bring in. Mage-wise, this goes significantly better. Well, maybe not. There were just fewer mages in this army, so there was less available to lose. Some of the Scrati retreat, right? So a good amount of Scrati survive. And yeah, overall, like the mage losses are a lot less significant in this location as compared to the previous battle. But yeah, I mean, lots of things can happen in Dominion. Marignon, has a pretty significant war, right? I don't think Ulm is going to roll over. I think Ulm has plenty of territory, so this game is still up for grabs. But you're welcome, Marignon. So we'll see. Honestly, with the victory like this, it kind of depends on what Utgard has behind it. We may actually move out and try to take a fort, maybe two. I think one fort is probably all we're realistically going to get. And even that's probably going to be a stretch. But again, right, the plan was to kind of raid. I wasn't really expecting to be able to take these armies on at all. So I may need to reassess. I do still think that, we need a lot of raiding. We lost a lot of territory here. Let's not kid ourselves. We're starting in a much weaker position. We lost a bunch of territory in the opening moves of the war. This is going to be an uphill struggle. But there's actually a chance we survive to the end of this game now. So pretty happy with those results. Let's see what the unexpected Barbarians. Barbarians don't care about your victories. This is going to be another province we lose, I suspect. But such is life. We took Misfortune 3. Can't really complain. Children are disappearing at night. That's a relief compared to a ton of barbarians. Lawmen frolicking with the fairies. Good for you, sir. Somebody else going with the burning of the fairy court rather than the frolicking. We do at least get some gems out of it. There's a worldwide event. Stars are right for constructions, which we are not planning on taking advantage of. Let's take a look at these barbarians. How big of a horde is this? A significant horde, definitely. Oh no, this is Utgard's territory that we took with our freaking... Oh man. Okay, this is kind of unfortunate. This we can complain about at least a little bit. However, we still have some gems left. Hey, all right. Yeah, see, it works out perfectly. Come on. No, sorceresses, don't do it. Okay, yeah, see, barbarians don't have great morale. So we lose a mage. That's not ideal, but we hold the... Hey, no, don't even think about it. All right. Yeah, one of those barbarian lords had gone berserk. So anyway, yeah, we lose a mage. It's not great, but we hold the province. So we are still under siege where we won, but there's probably just a unit here. We'll break out shortly. And then some promotions, units cured from disease, and catch you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. This turn we are primarily focused on counter raiding, really to try to stop more horror attacks. So we're splitting out a lot of units, a number of mages rather, like these kind of smaller mage groups, really relying on Pillar of Fire. Hopefully when, combined with relatively modest province defense investment, this will hopefully stop more lesser horror attacks. In the south, we are actually doing, a few raids where we're able to against, provinces mostly that Utgard took from us. Our main surviving army is actually still trapped inside the fortification, so we're going to clear that out. And then probably push immediately on this fortification. This was something we gave up a long time ago as part of the peace settlement. And there are a ton of gems here, right next to one of our fortifications. So I think it's something that we can take and something that's worth taking. But again, primarily going to be focused, on the raiding war and really kind of the counter raiding war at first. Hopefully Atlantis will be able to bring some pressure to bear. But even with these losses that Utgard has had, there's still we're really outmatched here. And it's also important to remember we don't really have much in the way of gem reserves. Our income situation is in big trouble, probably in the short to medium term. We are trying to focus kind of more troop recruitment, on our border, so we can actually utilize more raiding and counter raiding groups. But we really should probably invest in some patrol groups. We have quite a few locations where our tyrants have been hanging out, where we've really hammered our income in a lot of places. So we're not getting nearly the income that we should be getting from our already relatively limited lands. So we're going to try to push forward. This is going to be the best moment that we have to fight against Utgard. But still not expecting this war to go in our favor. We might be able to pick up this fortification, but seems pretty unlikely that we'll be able to push too much past that. It does look like Marignon is fighting against Utgard, although they're potentially just going for their own throne rush. So yeah, I'm not actually sure what the situation is, but Marignon's not that far away from a throne victory either. So, this game might not go on that much longer. There's not really a whole lot we can do about Marignon winning or not winning. I guess arguably we could, not pressure Utgard so they could defend their throne, but that's not really a viable strategy for us. So yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 76.